What's up guys, thanks for tuning in on today's video. It's Gabe. Hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Really quickly guys, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 2,000 and I cannot be any more excited and any more thankful for that. So thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and obviously watching my content. So without further ado, let's get started on the 5 things that you must have on your 2010 through 2015 or 5th generation Camaro SS. You know, there's really different avenues that you could take. You know, you can make this a show car where it's purely just visual representation of your own creativity, of your own likening. For example, a wide body kit, you know, crazy, a blue color like this, you know, something that really sticks out and it's really focused on the appearance of the car. Or perhaps you want to make this more of a track or circuit oriented Camaro build where you just focus on perhaps suspension and some performance mods and even stripping and adding some roll cages in the interior. The following 5 things that I feel you must have on your 5th generation Camaro SS, it kind of coincides with the different types of builds and the different types of objectives. You know, one that considers that show car look and that performance and track oriented handling. So without further ado, let's get started on the first thing on the list. So the first thing that I strongly suggest and you must have on your 5th generation Camaro is an exhaust modification. Now you guys can choose between the countless aftermarket companies that are providing an aftermarket exhaust system, but you guys have to have some form of exhaust system on your stock 5th generation Camaro. On my car, I have a Flowmaster Axleback exhaust system with a secondary cat delete, and it kind of gives me this exhaust note. Pretty decent startup, nice little growl there on the lower end of things, but again, it's not too loud. I'll let the microphone and your headphones decide that. Here are some clips of 5th generation Camaros with the stock exhaust starting up and revving. Okay, we found a little straightaway. Let's go ahead and Axleback exhaust system that I have is really on the lower, you know, budget friendlier side of things. If you really wanted to ball out and get a more like raspier and more aggressive and I think just sounds a lot better. I'm not even gonna lie about it. It sounds a lot better. You can look into Corsa, Borla, those are like the biggest names. Heck, even doing a muffler delete on this car. I mean, check it out. Look how it sounds. And you can spend anywhere from $50, $75 to all the way to $500 just getting started. So it really depends on what you want to do, what type of sound you want to get. Having a V8 Camaro or a V8 American sports car is already such a fun and exciting experience. So why not just give it more? That's my philosophy. So if you guys already have a exhaust system with your used Camaro, skip this part because you've already done the most important thing in my eyes. Alright guys, so for the second thing that must be done on your 5th generation Camaro SS is going to be a cold air intake. Now the cold air intake, like the exhaust modifications, don't really add too much horsepower, but nonetheless they do add a little bit of it. I think 10 is a little excessive, but nonetheless it's still horsepower being gained. By the way, this is how the cold air intake sounds from the outside. But let's be honest, the intake that comes from the factory is not only useless compared to an aftermarket one, it just looks absolutely hideous. Now, of course, just like the axle back exhaust systems or any sort of exhaust system, you do have the different makes and models for cold air intakes. You can spend anywhere from $150, which is what I spent on these Spectre intakes, which, by the way, it gets the job done. It gives it a nice sound. The coolant temperature is about 2 degrees lower ever since I installed them. And, you know, it gives it my engine bay at least a little bit of flair. But you can go all the way to, like, let's say the Verum intake or the K&N intake and spend around $350 to $450. And of course, you get better material. You may get more horsepower because of the design. I don't know. I think the Verum intake makes a lot more sense because it's mounted to the radiator, and that's where the air from the grill passes through. So that might be a little bit better in design for more output. But, you know, again, it's minimal. So it really depends on, you know, how much do I value $300. All right, guys, so for the third thing that you must have on your 5th generation Camaro SS, and that is getting the aftermarket Z28 hood or a 1LE hood. If you're lucky enough to find a 14 to 15 5th generation refresh model, those all come with the hood insert like the Z28. You know, you could always find an aftermarket hood that does have like those inserts, or basically a place where the air can channel through and channel out. And I say this not only because it looks really good. I mean, look, the General Motors or the Chevrolet design of like the Z28 style hood insert, which is what I have on my car, it makes the car look so much more aggressive, so much more sportier, and it actually gives it some form of functionality to it. In traffic, when I'm not moving and the engine is just producing so much heat and it has nowhere to go but up, it just exits out through the hood insert, because I didn't really put a water tray there just because of that reason only. You can actually buy it with a water tray. So if you don't want to, you know, if you're afraid that water might get in, which is something that does happen but nothing's happened so far to it, you always have that option. I actually did it on my family's friend's driveway with my family friend actually cutting into the car, and with the saw. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Alright guys, so for the 4th must-have modification that your 5th generation Camaro must have is going to be suspension modifications. Now, again, you could make this a show car, you could make this a track focus car, you can make this a drag car, but overall, if you decide to take any of those routes, you're gonna have to come across suspension modifications regardless. From the factory, the ride height of this car is not only so unappealing, it's actually kind of disgusting. and I'm sorry I'm so harsh with it. It just, I remember being bullied so many times because of how wide the wheel gap was. It just, again, it looks terrible. Even though this does have independent rear suspension from the factory, which is a lot better than the Mustang's solid rear axle frame, it still feels like it wobbles a lot, and it does feel like the body roll, it's a little too much for me. You want to buy these suspension mods because not only is it going to make the car look so much more aggressive and sportier and just more appealing to look at, the Megan Racing coilovers that I have really get the job done. And when it comes to handling, oh my gosh, listen, I made an entire review of my Megan Racing coilovers. You guys can check it out in the cards above or in the link in the description below. But all I can say, guys, is that the suspension is going to enhance the overall driving quality and the appearance of the car. Or you can spend a lot more money and get bags, for example, which also are pretty cool. Whatever you decide to get, suspension has to be on your list, and it has to be a mod you buy for your 5th generation Camaro. So for the 5th and final modification that your 2010 to 2015 5th generation Camaro SS should and must have is a new set of aftermarket wheels. Now, I don't say that because I have a problem with the standard 5-spoke stock designs. I actually really like them. I was rocking those wheels for more than a year or so. I've actually left them chrome, you know, that silver alloy look, and then I went ahead and painted them black, and for some time it looked really well. But unfortunately, I started to realize that having the stock wheels really inhibits me from doing two things. One, enhancing the performance output that this car could give, and two, overall, you know, spicing things up a little bit. So what is it that I mean when I say improving or enhancing the performance output of your car? Well, if you swap out the old stock 5th generation Camaro wheels for, let's say, an aftermarket set of wheels that, you know, look a lot different, look to your appeal, but are also wider, that means that you can actually add wider tires to your car, because the stock ones are only 20x8s up front and then 20x9s in the back. So I think that translates to around 255 in width in the front max, and then 285 in the back width. So getting wider tires is definitely going to improve the overall handling and the grip of the car. And it's, well, no, I don't want that because my car is going to be a show car. Well, having wider tires in the rear and the front make this car look so much more aggressive. So if you really wanted to spend some money and get forged wheels that are a lot lighter than the 5th generation stock ones, or any other aftermarket ones like mine, for example, that's also a great option. And of course, the less weight that you have on the car, the better it is for the lap times. And let's not forget that putting aftermarket wheels not only improves the performance, the handling, and all that stuff, paves way for wider tires, more aggressive tires, but it also makes the car, at least my car, look so much better. I'm pretty sure that any Camaro that you guys pick out, you will find an aftermarket set of wheels that will look awesome with your car. All right, guys, so there you have it. Those are the 5 modifications that you must have on your 2010 through 2015 5th generation Camaro SS. Now, just a reminder, guys, I do understand that this is all opinionated based, and I actually hope that you found some of my mods and some of the reasoning behind it somewhat relatable and logical. So guys, thank you so much for sticking around to watching the video. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 2,000 and we are on course to hitting 2,000 for the end of this year. Guys, don't forget to like this video if you found any of these modifications and the reasoning agreeable and somewhat rational as well. Don't forget to also comment. Let me know what you guys think. Am I crazy for suggesting that these 5 things should be on your 5th generation Camaro? And don't forget, lastly, to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos, my vlogs, my reviews, anything. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.